and Susan, if something has come up and she needs to watch this.
And who's our unseen member too? What's his name?
Oh, Joe Shivany. Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, I guess I meet with him tomorrow. Let me just check to see, to remind me. Yeah, I got him at 4:00. 4:00 tomorrow. Yeah, he's tracking pretty good. Okay, so here's how it's going to work. I'm going to name the first person, and then they get to name the next person. And keep in mind that KJ was in the room first, so don't make her wait the longest, because when you get to a place early, and then you don't get in till late, it's even worse. So, but Laura, I want to be reminded of your line about the sandwiches. If you could read that, because I played a little clip about from Weekend Update for those of you who missed it. Russians were hoarding sandwiches because McDonald's were closing, and then it showed the picture of Trump with all the junk food in the White House, and they referred to him as an honorary Russian. And I almost peed my pants. How are the Republicans going to run against the Democrats? They can't say, they can say, Biden is too soft on the Russians. What are they, the Putin wing of the Republican Party? We can just say, your guy was almost sucking his dick, for crying out loud. Oh my God, what position?
It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's true. Oh my God. Anyway, all right, with that great lead in, Laura, I'd like you to start and tell us your experience of the material in the last week. Read that piece, the part of that piece, so we can hear that beautiful surprise mind, and then pick the next person. And we're shooting for about 5 minutes or so, because dinner is going to be ready, and Bhakti is buying a kayak paddle tonight. So I don't have the benefit of having extra time, I hate to say. And I know some people are going to leave it 2 hours anyway. So Laura, go ahead.
Okay, I've got the sandwich queued up. This is the line. Unless he is hurt or sick or tired, slowed down enough to hug you back, he takes your love and runs, takes it and runs as if it's a sandwich. So there's the sandwich. I have, I'll read, I loved the assignment, although I don't know if I fulfilled it, but I did write a couple of things, sort of spontaneous or not sort of spontaneous things in response to the prompt. So I'll read some of that stuff, which I just have in my notebook. We hurt people. We do this because our energy is finite. Excess could go to empathy, but there is no excess. We go glassy-eyed when we look at people, even at ourselves. Our own bodies try to protest our neglect. A friend's thumb split in cold weather and won't heal. We don't know how to heal ourselves, or the part of ourselves and other people that is split and won't heal. It'd be best in romantic relationships if no one got needy, but there is love so within reach, the bomb we've longed for, that the split thumb throbs for, and we want just to take it, but our reaching disappears it, shows it as mirage. So I kind of went off in a different direction. And here's another one I took from is this Anna Akhmatova, translated by Stanley Kunitz. Death is already chalking the doors with crosses and calling the ravens, and the ravens are flying in. And as I was walking in my neighborhood, the mountains are very visible, and just on the top of the mountains was a line of snow, all but just this line of snow had melted in, and it looked like a chalk line. And I was thinking how the metaphor is that we chalk individual houses, but in this case, in our world right now, a whole nation has been chalked. So I was thinking about that. And then I was also thinking about some things that had happened in my own life. So this is what came out, and the ticky-tacky boxes come up again. Patriotism is dangerous, and yet we sing "You're a Grand Old Flag" and the Star-Spangled Banner to the drumbeat of a yucca stalk in the mountains on land that was flagless. The last snow, a line on the ridgeline, like chalk, like a big line of chalk over their watershed. Notification of annihilation. Please be advised, we are coming to swallow you in the great maw of ticky-tacky boxes, your water, the rocks, and our dry martinis. So yeah, thanks. The readings were great. I enjoyed also the squirrel video and have been thinking about proprioception. My mom fell yesterday when she was with the kids and had 5 stitches in her forehead. And I've been thinking about, what it takes for us to be aware of our bodies and space and how that changes as we grow older. Another friend woke in the middle of the night and reached for his bookcase and fell. And he said, I always pride myself on being able to wake up quickly, but as we age, I think we lose some of our sense of our body and space. Maybe we're getting closer to spirit.
How old is your mom?
77.
77. Yeah. Yeah. Chalking houses. Why do they chalk houses?
It's the biblical reference, right?
Oh,
Of the Passover, but also just, marking the dead. We lost someone in this house.
I got it. Okay, good. And I love the way you took that split thumb and used it first as a real thing and then as a metaphor. That was very artful, very well done. That recall is a very, very artful thing. And the squirrel, yeah, that moment of slow motion with the squirrel and where he's describing how the squirrel locks in on the place where he's going to land. That is such proprioception. In the interview I did with Solaheen, he talks about the animal nature and the animal nature of proprioception in us, the animal in us. And it's fascinating. It'll be interesting for you all to see that. I just put it up yesterday. Anything else, Laura, that you want to share?
I'll keep my check-in short and pass it on to KJ.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. Well, I hope your mom's okay. She probably got a bunch of bruises too. I read through everything. I love Lorene Nidecker. I think she's amazing, although I was a little surprised at the limericks that were in there. They were kind of interesting.
Did you see the line about beads?
About
beads? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
was stunned to see that.
I'm just thinking, again, sometimes it doesn't matter what form you're writing in or what you're doing, just writing. You're just writing, you're just getting it down. And I appreciate that. I love the part where she says, what would they say if they knew that I sit for 2 months on 6 lines of poetry? And again, I just appreciate that kind of honesty. And just the name of the kook strain. I want to be a member of the kook group. Yeah.
How come?
Yeah.
Tell me how.
Like
tell me
that.
how come. KJ, tell me why you want to be associated with kooks.
Because I want to be able to do what just comes to me without having to worry about it being something that someone else needs to look at and okay. I think that's the whole part, almost like Diana was talking last week about, just I don't necessarily need the reassurance that what I'm doing is acceptable by everyone. And that's, been my mantra personally for a long time, but I never could get it into think about it that way for my poetry.
I think that Williams, in talking about plagiarism, is a metaphor for all other writing. All other writing is basically like all other writing. And so it's plagiarism unless you could be really, truly yourself. And I
That's
think
a good point.
I think
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I also liked Kiger, that saying where she says, the shape of the day, the words of the moment, what's happening around one in the world of exterior and interior spaces. These are my writing concerns. And I feel that way too. I don't know that I can write about anything else but those kinds of things. Otherwise, it just doesn't seem genuine unless it's your experience. I sent you something. I sent you a poem, which if you wanted to put up for me, I would read, and that was my answer to the writing exercise. War poems are always depressing, but always interesting too. I took the Anna Akhmatova line, "This means the gravestones are fragile." I hang over the top of a concrete block wall, 8 rows tall, standing on a Walmart outdoor chair. New construction blocks my view, the little hill with saguaro arms uplifted. I'm looking for something, anything, scurrying, poking from an invisible hole, maybe suction cupped to the side. Bulldozers drag the cholla, the creosote, out by their roots, smothered the nesting babies, drove out the coyotes, bobcats, javelina. Even the small herd of wild horses was captured, trucked north to the Salt River. And where are the birds? The bedraggled roadrunner hoarsely screeching, the doves cooing and hooting like daytime owls, the pot-bellied brown eastern robin, a burst of orange on its chest where a heart should be. So that's it.
Ain't that something? That's your check-in?
That's my
You're
check-in.
dropping the mic. I get it.
I am.
I love this so much. I love that the war is going on and you see it right there, and how this Walmart, this, you talk about a luminous detail, and the fact that it's a Walmart outdoor chair coming at that moment is just so perfectly situated, and how the abstract here is balanced with the specific, with the concrete, the literal concrete in this case, but also the saguaro and the coyotes and the roadrunner, who I only know from Bugs Bunny, meep, meep. So
They're scraggly birds. They're not pretty at all.
yeah, far out. I bet it was fun to write that. I mean, I bet it was good to write. I don't know about fun, but I bet it was satisfying to write.
It was satisfying to write that. Very satisfying.
Because you felt you've been in a drought or something, or yeah.
Yeah, this is me coming back, so that's good.
Yeah. All right. Far out. You get to pick.
All right, I get to pick. I am going to take Linda.
Oh, we have a question. What is a javelina?
A javelina is a wild pig thing. They are in the desert. They run around here, and there are some fairly close to me, but not in my backyard anymore. Yeah.
It's funny. As soon as you mentioned that, I thought, I wonder what they taste like.
I don't know. That's one thing I haven't seen on any menus in local restaurants is a javelina burger or something.
Well, I think, in honor of Laura King, it'd be a javelina sandwich, actually. So
this is true.
With cheese.
This is true.
All
or
right,
eggs and javelina. I don't
know. Great name for a kid. Maybe your next daughter, Evelina. All right, Linda, we're cutting into your time. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, wonderful material this week. I love, like KJ, I love the Lorraine Nidecker. When I started reading, just reading my notes that because I did it a few days ago. Yeah, the piece that Marlette wrote about her, just wonderful. It was like I started reading it and it was like, who is this person writing this? Because it's obviously such a poet. So then I skimmed down to the end and said, oh, it's Marlette. Okay, fine, that makes sense. But that was fun. And I love Niedecker's little, what a white muffler in a dark coat will do for a dull man. Way to go. Yeah, and I just thought that next year, or I fly my rounds tempestuous. What a great title. You know, her words. Anyway, yes, I really got off on her for a while. And I also noted that what would they say if they knew I sit for 2 months on 6 lines of poetry? Yeah, could relate with a lot of that stuff. Yeah, the Joanne Kiger had me digging out both Kiger books and Olson books, just because it's just so interesting. Yeah, I just have a bunch of notes here and I should have reread them before I started yapping because I can't even remember what I was going on about, other than I really enjoyed the Kiger stuff. And the squirrel, of course, was delightful. Proprioception. And I also got down to, oh yeah, okay, so 2 other things happened. This arrived today. The John Bream. And yeah, that one. And I also got this week. So really got into the William Carlos Williams. It's so interesting because it was published in like 100 years ago, basically 99 years ago, after very similar circumstances to what we've got going on now. And some of the stuff in here is, I haven't read it all yet. I just got it, but it's amazing.
It's
and
not dated. It's not dated at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think because he is writing spontaneously, I think makes for it. I think because he's writing projectively, he's reaching outside of himself, and that is where the prophetic comes in. And I'm convinced, which is why I've dedicated, most of my adult life to tracking this kind of writing. And I was reading it again after the tournament, after the NCAA men's tournament brackets were released. Once it was over, I went back to, my heavily noted and bookmarked and tagged thing. And it's just, there's a piece in there that reminds me of it's so much of proprioception. He's talking about, the pulses, something about the pulses. I have it copied out, but connecting the writer with the pulses that are coming in. That's exactly proprioception. So he was tied in. We get tied into these things without even knowing what they mean, but we trust them because they sound good and they feel right. And then later we learn, we kind of beat ourselves to the punch, like Eileen Miles said. The poem beats you down the street. I'm saying this as a huge rainbow is across the lake here, so it must be true. So I'm sorry I cut you off though, but I wanted to mention that. I'm glad you brought that up.
No, it's an amazing book, and as you say, it doesn't feel dated, which is quite scary, especially when you read things like, "For the Russians, we shall build a bridge from edge to edge of the Atlantic, having been at pains to slaughter all Canadians and Mexicans on this side. Then, the great feature will take place." It's like, shit. Yeah, this stuff's been going on for a long time, people, and it's not about to stop. So I'll share a little bit of my weekly or my ramblings, which is now up to about, oh God, way too many pages, 15 pages or something. And I haven't finished transcribing, but I'll read a little bit of what we had this week.
Good.
Okay. The paths that lead to secret spots are muddying. Today the river is down. I say hello to old familiar riverbed rocks. Hello, old underwater all winter rocks, their acrid sweet smell. Hello, ducks dive, come up, strewing spray like diamonds on the surface. Hello. Something dialed up the heat in the sun's rays. God, if that's your wish, or the universe doing its thing as it weaves a circuitous route around the sun, that familiar orb in the sky, and 100 or so little black and white ducks head north, skimming the surface of the river. Off in the distance, the new bridge, new in 1966, straddles the Kootenai River just before it enters the Columbia, marshals a stream of cars and trucks. Behind it, out of sight from where I sit, is the brilliant suspension bridge that replaced a ferry, one side in Brilliant, the other in Udushenya, built by newly arrived Doukhobors in 1913, now used for foot traffic, or chairs with bows on their backs set out for a wedding. Doukhobors came to Canada, pacifists, to show they were serious about toil and life, burned their guns at the end of June 1895 in their native Russia. Tolstoy himself helped finance the exodus. The other day, a Doukhobor man was yelled at in a liquor store because of Russia's military operation in Ukraine. The language still spoken in these parts. Your kids can learn it in school. The ducks, having enjoyed their last downstream float, head north again. A group of walkers, a pedestrian of walkers, an instep, goes by. They interrupt their conversation about money and dinner parties to ask if I'm sketching the scene. I say I'm writing it and they look surprised. A little further on, a child in a fuchsia jacket gathers rocks, piles them in careful inukshuks. The river is low enough now, I can take shortcuts to get where I'm going. And back they go, the ducks, wings aflap with ridiculous urgency as it gets them where they want to go. This huge world doesn't seem to know where it wants to go. My notebook tells me there's a Hungarian proverb that states, never stroke a cat backward or your luck will turn bad. Apparently someone stroked the cat that is Putin backwards, and look where that got us. Oh, the early spring smell here, river bottom mustiness, rocks look like brains where underwater growth has clung to them and died. Once, when my husband and I were new, we came upon the rocks right after the water went down. They were green and slippery if you tried to walk on them. When they're out of water for a time, they turn gray. Quaking aspen, pen in hand, tiny weapon. Back at Benchcock, the snow is all but gone. White caps on the river, so much foreshore revealed on the other side. It would be tempting to cross it if it wasn't so cold. Today, I am lady of the harbor the sun beats down on. Leonard takes a seat beside me on Benchcock. I ask him if he drew it. I've read his novels. Wonder if that's where people go when they die, into the collective memories of those who knew them, loved them, even from afar. So when they pop into someone's mind, they live again for the moment. That's enough.
No.
Oh, there's only a bit more. For me, it's the ants. I'm sorry I tell them. I'm sorry I tell them as I flick them off the counter. I'm making cookies and you must die. I always make sure to kill, not wound. Make it quick for them. They move like the Dickens when they hit the floor, almost as if they know. Back on my rock on Zuckerberg Island in front of the labyrinth, ducks on the river rise as one when a motorboat streaks through their midst. The sound of wings almost drowns out engine hum, a cacophonic interruption to today's peace on the river. And I think what it must be like in Ukraine, my thoughts never far from there these days. I live in a place where people came to escape the grips of war, people who threw their guns in a pile and burned them in a Russian field on a June night, people whose mantra is toil and peaceful life. How hard it was to make that happen, make it stick. How hard it is today.
Bravo, Linda. This is very strong work.
Oh,
Fantastic. when my husband and I were new. Could you go up? There was a word in there. Oh, first of all, benchcock. I love that you capitalized benchcock. And Zuckerberg, did you name a rock after the founder of Facebook? Did you do that?
No. Zuckerberg Island was there before Mark.
Okay, good. There was a word I didn't recognize. The piles of the rocks and piles of it looked like an Inuit word.
Inukshuks.
Inukshuks.
When you know those lovely little piles of rocks.
Yeah. What's the other word for those? Tim.
Karen.
Yeah, Karens. Yeah.
Cairns, yeah.
Inukshuk. I can't quite see it. Where is it there? Can you highlight it? Where? Oh, there it is. Inukshuks. Far
I
out.
think I spelled it right. I was transcribing quickly and didn't double check.
Far out. Never heard that word before.
Yeah.
Well, it's very strong work, and it's so good to see how this work evolves for you. I love the fact that you're bringing in the local history with the Doukhobors, and it's
I want to do more of that.
yeah, I mean, that's a rich vein, especially given what's going on. Very
Yeah.
important. Niedeker's sense of place is why was why I'd like you to read her work more so than the fact that she's not an organic poet. I mean, she says it very clearly. What would they think of me if they knew I sat on 6 lines of poetry for 2 months or whatever it is? That's not organic. I mean, 2 months later, I'm already in another series or something, right? But her method worked for her, and we're still reading her and reading her even more so now. And we can thank Canadian Jenny Penberthy for making it happen. Those calendar poems, they're 40 pages, and they're intercollected poems. And I want to assign that to you all because there's so many beautiful ones in there, and just scanning 40 fucking pages to me seemed like a lot of work, but it's still here on my desk. So I'm toying with the idea of scanning those and having that as a reading assignment, but it won't be for next week. It would be in the future. So I'm glad you're getting some out of her. I really like what you're doing, Linda, and capitalized benchcock. That's fantastic. See, I think, someone comes across your poetry in 50 years from that place, or 70 years, maybe they've had painted over the offending illustration by that, or it's worn off by time. But
I get quite incensed now whenever I go there. If somebody else happens to be sitting on that bench, it's like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah, territorial. I get it. Hey, one more thing: the duck with the spray. I saw that today, and I don't remember seeing that before. They get their beak full of water and then they got to shoot it out, or what happened?
Well, just when they were just diving and coming up, and just the way the sun was hitting them and everything, it was quite dramatic.
Because I saw the same thing today when Bhakti and I were walking, taking our first walk in like 5 days, and it just seemed to shoot out of the duck. I didn't see how. I just saw the shot of water, and I thought, I've never seen that before, quite like that. Anyway, glad we're both looking at ducks. Glad it's feels like spring. Yeah, who's next?
I picked Diana.
Excellent.
So I am reading this right now, and I liked the intro so much. I keep just going back to it and reading it again because it's so tight and so representative of everything we talk about here and get exposed to. And I'm making my way slowly through the book, which I'm sure I'm going to have to read more than once because it's just so dense with implications. Does anybody remember a line? I couldn't remember which one of you had a line from the poem "To chase and be chased by the sea." Anybody remember that? Well, one of you inspired, I finally think I've landed on my, what I think how I'll attempt a really long form. And, you know, writing about the ocean is kind of like writing about babies or grandkids or love. It's like so easy to be bad. So anyway, this is called The Process of Beach, and I'm going to put it up and I'm going to force you to listen to the whole thing. Although, you know, you can always, Paul can always mute me, I guess. Okay, there we go. Got it. So this is called The Process of Beach. To chase and be chased by the Pacific, the sound of the sea on continent's rim, rooster tails of small rip currents, seaweed broken loose, sandpipers, gulls, cormorants, grebes, residues of surf foam. Pelicans skim the waves as if trimming excess foam. 58 degrees today, rising, warming. Largest and deepest body of water, twice the size of the Atlantic, covers a third of the earth, warming, rising. Surf flat this morning, green flag flying. On the patio, a buzz hum of hummingbird energy here, gone then. On the patio, a buzz hum of hummingbird energy here, gone, then back again to feed in the nasturtium hibiscus bird of paradise pantry across from the hanging flower baskets. We have removed temporarily to thwart the nest shopping doves. Parents ourselves were unwilling to watch chicks raised and traumatized by our patio traffic, a lesson we learned last year, and they did not. They are never chased by the sea or cats. Our patio secure as plastic fence can make it. Our house not built on an eroding bluff that waits to be ocean taken. Today, saltwater waves lap and shoosh the coast of the oceanside littoral, slap rush slam on others, storm dependent. Water's edge defined by beaches alternating with canyons, dumping water sometimes big enough to be called creek and river. All bleed away from the coastal mountains to the Pacific via man-made containment, metal pipes, concrete ditches, curved and sloped ribbons of beach broken by fingers of rock by the San Clemente Pier, jutting out perpendicular, foolish, bold, laid out, piped and wired on pilings pounded deep. The Spanish village by the sea, a coastal desert paradise intended for whites only. Imitation all the way, white stucco with terracotta tiles, developers making grand mistakes for future developers to expand on. Sand from the beaches that drive the tourism moves down coast as if fleeing to Mexico. We haul in purchased sand by the truckload for beach regeneration, as if the beach were a sandbox, as if we had not squeezed to a trickle the delivery of silt, as if we do not, before each storm or king tide, hire heavy equipment to scrape the sand back from water's edge into giant berms. Out of storm or tide reach, we hope, while the mix of on the beach humble and grandiose houses on Beach Road, built before the Coastal Commission said no more, try every engineering idea money can buy, creating a dam, dike, wall, bulwark hodgepodge of metal beams, boulders, wire, and sandbags the size of boulders to keep the ocean off the patios, out of the houses. Stairways to the beach dangle, tipped over, twisted. The coast-hugging railroad tracks now at risk. None of the junk of human engineering works to chase the sea. Sand, the most exploited natural resource in the world after fresh water. Edged by bluff, Pacific Coast Highway and the railroad, Capo Beach closes for months. Again, storm surge came under the asphalt parking lot's edge like a scythe bringing down grass, took the concrete picnic tables dug under the parking lot asphalt, having taken in prior years the restrooms, basketball courts, 40 parking spaces. Oh, to chase the sea and be chased by the sea. Used to be winter reduced what summer built back, beach never static. Amazon will not deliver a beach in a box. We complain about taxes, price of sand, price of gas. On the patio, wood warblers perch at Bird Bath's edge.
I love that. Laura admitted in the chat that it was her line.
Was it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
I don't know if you have it handy, Laura. If you could give us a couple, the line or so above it, if you have that handy, you might want to pipe in on that. There was something about engineering. If you go up just a little bit, engineering, it wasn't too, and every engineering trick, I thought it was going to be trick. And I don't know, you can change it if you want, but I love this. Amazon will not deliver a beach in a box. I mean, that's exactly that's the culture in a fucking one line. Hoping Amazon, I guess Amazon won't do that. Oh my God. And I love the lineation of it. You know, there was a little place where you stumbled just a bit, and you can use the lineation to help you make those parts where you might stumble a little easier, like put some space in it, like instead of one space between the words, put 3 or 4, like C.D. Wright did in that poem we had from last week.
Yeah.
Little tricks you can do to help your reading of it, because after you write something like this, the first task is to read it. And I think if it's really a projective act, you'll want to read it, because it's, like George Bowring says, if you listen real hard to the poem as it's happening, forget your mind's usual yapping, and listen hard for what the poem's trying to say, you will have a happy experience when you get to be the first reader of the poem. And it's a very true feeling to be the first reader when you're kind of almost having this out-of-body experience. It's not out of body, but it's very embodied. But it seems to me very successful, and it seems to me that there could be more where this comes from, and needed.
So can I just?
I want to experiment more with the form, because I want on the page to get to give a sense of what the waves look like as they come in and go out. And I think that'll help with some of the awkwardness, the current awkwardness of the lines.
Anne, I heard you had a question. Let me just quickly say that.
Yeah, well, let
me just quickly say that, Diana, in Asphodel, that greeny flower by Williams, these indented triadic stanzas seem to me to be a potential model for what you're talking about. So you may want to look at Asphodel.
Visit, right?
Yeah. All right, Anne, go ahead.
No, I know that beach, so I was just wondering, does it seem like the beach is just coming in closer to shore, or are these like more ferocious winter storms that seem to be taking the beach and the tracks and all those things?
Well, I haven't seen so much about what the trend is in storms. It's a pretty tricky kind of microclimate to make that kind of statement about. Maybe that information is out there and I just haven't stumbled across it. So I was sort of practicing the research saturation, and what they indicated was there's been like a 60, 80-year trend of Southern California beaches sort of moving south. But what I call out in here is part of the reason behind it is it's like what's happened in New Orleans. If you control the flow of water, then you take away the silt that feeds the beaches and helps them build up again in between the winter seasons. So the beach here is actually fairly protected.
I think if you go into that material and even include hunks of that material to break up the poetry, it would serve you very, very well. I love the idea of the beaches migrating to Mexico. I think that's fantastic. I mean, it seems to me that reflects their intelligence. But I think that your decision to go to research and including that material, even hunks of it in the poem, might be something you'll consider.
Yeah, I feel like the language at times is a little bit flat, but it's early. It's early days.
Yeah, and the other thing is you can tweak, you can take out conjunctions, you can
Yeah.
take things out. You can replace things that don't have surprise. You could replace certain words. You can make certain words compound word, like invent words, like Celan does. I think there was one moment in the poem where I saw a Celanism potentially in there. So those are little tricks you can do to bring a little more surprise into it and to stay true to the impulse of when you were writing it. Diana, who's next?
How about Carlton?
Okay, so I got to share the screen with what he had. So let me just see what we got here. It was on the hold on, I got to get the right tab up because I think it comes up as a tab. Yeah, there it is. All right. Who is the volunteer reader for this? Rancho Chaotic. Yes, please unmute yourself and fire away. Extra points for a British accent.
So here's my check-in for this week. We have been reading the new edition of Spring and All this past week, and a few of the lines were quite present in given the climate we find ourselves in. All right. Black winds from the North Center, black hearts. Barred from seclusion in lilies, they strike to destroy. Beastly humanity, where the wind breaks. Strident voices, heat, quicken, build of waves, from Spring and All 5. The more news I watch, the more powerless I feel. Oh, wow, Carlton. The more news I watch, the more powerless I feel and can affect any change for the positive. I watched the squirrel video and recalled that I had seen it before. Also found a newer version, 2.0, that I forwarded to you. I read from the Lorraine Nidecker poems. Note, one doesn't see the word rigmarole often in a poem. I will be submitting these poems to Poets Response at Rattle. Here is my war poem. I die a little. Outside my window is a tableau with bright sunny flowers. Scatters the ground with its yellow carpet, a golden shroud. Upon this holy ground, for all ground is holy. Every time we say goodbye, I die a little. Echoes like shockwaves from an earthquake or another missile strike. There are clouds today. Clouds that don't follow the rules of peace and war. Clouds of ruin, bombing us, a deluge of death, debris, and detritus. As the bricks of rain fall, lives entombed beneath crashing silences, stillness hushing all, with voices and nerve, sinew, strong enough to hold back the wave upon wave upon wave of tanks and soldiers too young to know what war really means or what peace can be. I think to myself, all the shiny golden moments, obliterated by dark-suited neighbor who enjoys killing neighbor's cats.
Unfucking believable.
Whoa.
Unbelievable. You nailed it, my man.
I think he's reading my mail.
Yeah.
That would be a tree. It's a tree with yellow flower, not the blow.
That line right there. Tababuya.
Yeah.
What kind of flower? Somebody can Google that real quick.
They have golden yellow flowers.
Golden yellow. Okay, good.
My mistake. I read that as tableau.
That's all right. You're reading when you're ripping and reading like
I know,
that.
it's a good gold read though.
Yeah. But this is you could put the E in there echoes. I mean, you could do that. Every time we say goodbye, I die a little. Yeah, I mean, what a great angle to take on this whole thing. And you just said how we all feel. The more news I watch, the more powerless I feel. And yet, me and Adelia and Anne Graham Walker, we can't fucking get enough. We are insatiable with reading stories, exchanging stories. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Adelia had already seen the interview of the captured Russian soldier. Has anyone seen that video
No.
of the captured Russian soldier? It'll tear your fucking heart out. Oh my God. Hey, Adelia, if you can find that, or if you have it, Andy, stick that in the chat, because it's just, he was lied to. He says he was lied to, and oh my God, I saw it in Journal of the Plague Year. They had a link to it. So I know you could find it at Journal of the Plague Year. But Carlton, yeah, rigmarole. I love maybe that's a Midwest word. I don't know, because I used that before, rigmarole. And I think of these words, wondering, where they come from. And since she's from the Midwest, she grew up 100 miles from where I grew up. I think we share a vocabulary and a few other things, kind of a culture. But I love the angle that you took on this. This is fantastic. Fantastic. Any other thoughts anyone wants to share? Nice work reading that, Tim. And stuff. Oh, and the end, the neighbor, a dark suited neighbor who enjoys. Was that, Carlton, was that something you saw in the news, or you just extrapolated that?
No, it came to me like, I worried about that line. I thought, well, maybe I could put in there, maybe my girlfriend loves my girlfriend like cat, like. But I mean, well, put in there anyway.
Oh, it's a brilliant ending. I think it's totally brilliant. People are attached to to their cats, to their pets. Totally brilliant. And they would do that. They'd bomb a fucking hospital. Come on. Of course they'd kill a cat.
It's a typical sociopathic thing to do. I think it's perfect, Carlton.
Yeah. Nice point, KJ. Nicely done. Okay, Adelia's found that. So you can get that from the chat. And Carlton, you get to pick who's next.
Susan.
All right, Susan. It's so dark in your square.
Hello.
We didn't know you were there, but he picked you out.
Oh yeah, it's great to hear the poems. Nice. Okay, I have a poem. Let's see. This is not exactly spontaneous. I worked on this a while. I tried different things, but it's new. It's called In the Neighboring Field.
Can you share?
She's not.
Can you share screen?
I don't exactly know how to do that, but let me see. No, it doesn't take too long. Just
Don't worry about it. You just click on the share screen button.
the green. Okay.
Yeah, and then there will be a different series of boxes. One of them will be your document if you're working in Word.
I don't see the document at all. Oh, there it is.
And you click on that, and then in a moment, it moves all of our heads
All
to the
right.
side.
Let's see.
And look
Okay,
at that.
here we go.
There we have it.
In the neighboring field. She is not a pet. Not a pet. I tell the ones who stop, ask, is that your cow? In the neighboring field. She struggles after birthing twin calves. One nuzzles, the other too weak. Spoon, 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 spoon. She is a dish. She is a spoon. her spine a fiddle, back legs slipping in mud on the moon. A little dog. The fence, the ditch, ran away. The road, the sky, the field. Twins gone. I saw the Kawasaki Mule 4010 with no tracks, no trail for answers. Just leave her, chewing, alone.
That's not your pet cow, Susan?
It's not our field, not our cow.
Do people keep,
Well, anyway, it's
do
hard
people-
to write
do people
about
do that?
animals without getting sentimental. I
Do
don't know,
people-
it's really hard.
do people
But,
keep pet cows in Southern Oregon? Is that common?
In Sutherland, there
Yeah.
are some down the road, like the people who stopped, they have these, special, like real curly cows. So a couple of the people that stopped to ask, one was like a veterinarian who does massages and things on animals. I mean, they're specialized people. That's not the neighbors and their cows, not at all. They're just out there for meat. They're not like in the movies. You bring a cow into a barn and it's cozy with clean hay and lighting and things. That they don't. It's not that kind of cattle business here.
Yeah.
Right here. So they're brought in. They're bought at an auction, and they're brought in, and then eat from the fields. It's kind of too wet is the thing right now, but that cow was in there and gave birth. So anyway, this has been going on the past week, like this about the cow. It's right. The field is huge, the neighbor's field, but the cow is picked right by the house here. So she's very visible, and she's right by the road as well. So it's really sad. It's really sad to see her, because I don't think she's not going to make it either, because the ground's just too slippery and she can't get up. And now I think she's lost her muscle strength by now on her back legs. I don't know. It's sad to sort of watch. Like the news is so painful, but very addictive for our family to like watch that. And then the cow, like check on the cow, like look out the window.
The fact that your mother is a refugee from war is not lost on us. And how is she responding to this whole situation?
Oh yeah, thanks. Well, she doesn't really see herself as a refugee, but you're right, she's a refugee. But she sees herself as an immigrant, definitely. How is she responding? With her with dementia, maybe that's sort of a good thing. But she sometimes she thinks the bombs there might reach, like we're closer to Europe is in America or something like that. Like the distance part is, well, that's what the TV does, right? The distance disappears. It's interesting. When she lost her address book, that's how she's responding. She lost the address book, and that was a big deal here for days and nights, until finally it was under this pillow, an emerald green pillow, this velvety pillow thing. So that could be a poem too, I guess.
I think there is, I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of material in what she's going through. especially at this time, that might inform the poems.
Yeah, she can't really articulate what she's going through, but yeah, it's interesting to hear people speak, people being interviewed there, because they do speak English, some better than others.
Mm.
And in the other invasions, like Syria, Chechnya, like the different invasions the US has done too, I don't really remember people being interviewed that, well, of course, diplomats and things, but the people in the street, I don't remember hearing, English that like that can be, understood so much as this time around. That's what's making an impact. Well, and most of the faces are light complexions, so that America, mainstream America is in shock. European sort of, I guess you can say, well, it's really, bringing it closer. It's like, oh, those people, like Syria or Yemen, or other war-torn regions. It's really interesting. It's interesting, but then it's not. It comes down to violence. That's violence.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, and there are many opportunities in our own practice to explore these contradictions. The white on white violence aspect of it. Like we talked about last week, the African exchange students weren't admitted into other countries. This kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
These things have to be noted. They have to be noted by poets. Poetry is news that stays news. And if it's not put in a poem, and a poem's not read, this kind of stuff is forgotten. And this kind of stuff that sticks out, that deserves to be remembered, right? Just you're writing about the calf and the struggles there. That thing, that life, that sentient being deserves to be remembered, and the fact that you took the time to notice and put it in a poem, that's what can make this period, this time of war, that's what can take the powerless feeling away, because we can do something about it. We can make a difference, even if in our own lives, be closer to ahimsa, that quality of doing no harm. So I commend you on that. I love that I came to visit you, so now I can sort of have some kind of idea of where that cow might be. Not next to the Starbucks, where you encourage me to urinate.
No, it's not over there. It's on the other side.
The other side of the freeway. Okay, that's good.
Like in the lobby or what?
No, they didn't. They didn't
Closer
open
to the mountain.
the mountain. Yeah. No, she said in the field there. No one will see you, Paul. You go
Closer to
ahead.
the mountain. Yeah. Poor thing. I don't know what to say.
Susan, you can say who's next, I think.
Okay, Ingrid.
Oh, that was easy. Carlton has a suggestion in the chat before we let Ingrid take over. All these war poems can be published on rattle.com. Poets respond. I haven't talked about that much. So Ingrid, I'll start with you, and then maybe others can put a thumb up, or when their turn comes, they can say, have you submitted to Poets Respond?
I haven't submitted to the Poets Respond, but I'm going to be reading with you guys the one poem that I've written so far.
On Thursday. Yeah,
on
excellent.
Thursday.
Excellent.
I did all the readings actually down to the soldier. So I actually finished, and I watched that squirrel. So I actually did finish. I just didn't do any writing other than my haiku a day. The spring and all, Paul, I've got a PDF of it I could send you. And then anybody that wants the book that doesn't want to buy it, you could just send them that PDF copy.
Can you put it in the chat?
I don't know if I can. I got it from ModPo, but
But also,
I'll look at it during the break when we take the break.
but also if you click on the blue image, it should open online, because I've been reading it online too. So that it's available for people to read in that way.
It was online. It was an online copy because I read it. And one of the curious things about it is William Carlos Williams, he does his own reality. Like the numbers don't follow. They're not in order. Little jokes that he does all the way through. I read the book from cover to cover. And with a bunch of people, and we talked about it. We had a book discussion, and it was a valuable book discussion. And so I'll get the PDF for anybody that wants it. I loved reading all the Lorene Nidecker poems, and the selections picked up ones that we got in the bits and pieces, which was kind of cool, because it's like you get to know her as you go along. And that calendar where she was writing on top, sort of like found poetry, but she was using it and not erasing but adding. And so I don't know what you call that, but it's kind of fun. So it's interesting. And I don't like that Zukowski guy. And I don't even think I like the second husband, that one, that fisherman that she lived with at the end.
Al?
Yeah, Al. The
Yeah.
two of them were odd together. But I mean, she's the one that married him. So maybe she needed that at that point in her life.
I think she had a hard life.
A very hard life.
Yeah.
And it was I mean, she talks about the mud and the fish and the birds. She talks about the things that I see every day and look at when I'm going to write a haiku. I mean, it's the stuff that's out there. And it's like all these pieces, Paul, you bring back. You've given us Daphne Marlett before. Now you're giving her to us, but with Nidecker, it's like bits and pieces. It's like a juggling. And when the visit that wasn't in 1970, it's got Sid Corman and Shoshumi, her wife, coming when basically Lorene is dying.
I told Daphne to send it to the Solitary Plover.
Yeah, and I read that entire issue of the Solitary Plover. Was fun. And there's people I know that were writing there. It was kind of cool to find them.
There you go. So if you have anything that mentions Lorene or is Lorene-ish, you can send to them. They publish, I think, 4 times a year. What about the picture, the new mural in downtown Fort Atkinson?
I love that. I love that. That they're doing it. It's like they're commemorate. It was like a haiku walk, writing haiku on stones. They're taking her in and making her their own. Like she called herself Haiku Jane Reichold, but Nidecker's being adopted, and her poetry is, so the poetry is becoming part of the place. So the mud and actually the mud and guts of the place is being celebrated in a really neat way. Anyway, I enjoyed every bit of those readings. And then I enjoyed Krieger. Again, it was bits and pieces that you gave us, because going back, we read what she wrote, which was her contribution to that book, and it was more about it, and it's from her point of view, and it was all sort of haiku-ish. It was like in the moment. So being a cook was being in the moment. And my dad used to call me cook. It's because it's what he didn't like, but it's the strength of a person. And that squirrel one made me think not of he put out bird feeder and then he was trying to keep the squirrels out. I saw a video where a crow took cardboard piece and he was on a slate roof and he was making it like a toboggan, and he did it over and over and over again in a video. Maybe you saw that video. I went and tried to find it, but it was kind of cool because these are sentient creatures. So it's like Isa, you gave us the I forgot the name of the man you went and interviewed that we did last week, that KJ's got the book for.
John Brem.
John Brem. It's like all these pieces keep on flowing in. So thank you. And I was going to just give you 3 of my haiku for this week that I've got this. It's like a day planner, and every day I write in like 1 haiku a day that's based on observation and now. It's like KJ going to the river.
It's like Lorraine Niedecker writing on the calendar.
On the calendar, but I use the day planner and it's got the blocks and I put them in. And let me see if I can find it. It's very short, and then I'll let you go on. And we're going to go to Skylar.
Linda, no, she's not here.
She's not?
No,
Oh.
she's in New York. Oh, but you know what? I have her check in. So Linda put the crow video in the chat for those who want to watch crow tobogganers.
Oh, I love that. I'd love to see that one again. The knowledge of these creatures, it's profound. It really is. Okay, here's my 3. Breaking the intaglio seal, snowdrops, because all the first 2 daffodils, whole roll of snowdrops are out blooming, and the hellebores are blooming. They're under snow right now. Tattling on the wind chimes is the second. And robin song, no one shows the clouds what shape to take. Anyway, those are some out of my book from the past few days.
Fantastic.
And
Ingrid, if I put up Skylar's check-in, will you read it? It's a short.
I'd be glad to.
Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna share.
I didn't even know that Skylar wasn't here. I never went through the faces. I was going to say Anne then if Skylar wasn't, but
I see. Well, you get to pick 2 then. Look at you. Okay, so can you see that? Okay.
I do. Just a reminder, that's right, she told us last week. I'm traveling on miss tonight's session. Pilot humor while approaching LaGuardia. Those of you on the left side of the plane can see a wonderful view of the Statue of Liberty. Those on the right have a wonderful view of the people on the left side enjoying the view. Luckily, I was on the left side. I'm enjoying a photo of my travel, reading inspired by our group, especially Carlton. Carlton, your stuff tonight was wonderful. Thank you. Plus a photo of a guy outside the building writing, and a message from the nearby bagel shop. See you all next Sunday. Sagebrush songs, poems by Margaret Lee, the Dharma poetry. She's got another John Brem. Spring and All, she's got the copy and of the William Horace Williams one, and A Thimble of Time. She's got Carlton's book. Yay. Oh, and look on Sidewalk. Hey, look at who she found. A poet on the sidewalk.
Anna Crow is just going to take that and use it to slide. We're not even going to read the poems. She's going to use it to slide down a roof, for crying out loud. No respect, I tell you.
But thank you. Welcome. Love you all a lot. And then she goes hug and kiss.
Okay. Who is in need of a bio break? Is there a call for that? 1 person, 2, 3. All right. We'll be back with Anne Graham Walker's report here in about 4 minutes. I'm going to pause the tape.